to the InfoWars Nightly News. It's Monday, November 18th, 2013. I'm Leanne McAdoo, and here's what's coming up tonight.
Tonight, are TSA detention pods coming to an airport near you? Then, documents confirm police access to real-time DHS cameras. And even Slick Willie wants you to keep your health plan. That's next on the InfoWars Nightly News.
Hi, how you doing? I'm your friend, you know. I love you, Harlem. I love black people. I'm going to bomb Serbia. It's liberal.
Well, just to ensure that you are totally conditioned and ready to obey absolute authority, the TSA is now rolling out new detention pods. Another example of just how we are being treated like prisoners in our free country. Travelers are now being forced to bottleneck through these detention pods as they leave the airport terminal. A robotic voice gives instructions to wait inside the pod until a green light is shown and then the door opens. Once travelers exit the pods, they are unable to re-enter the terminal. The justification for installing the pods is that they replace police or security guards who would normally stand at the exit, therefore saving money. But we know that that is a bunch of baloney because the TSA admits in its own words that there is no real threat. What this whole thing is all about is just absolute acclimation, brainwashing, conditioning, so that you'll be okay with groping hands of the TSA and total authoritarian control. There are no terrorists. We reported last month, engineer and blogger John Corbett, that he's had ongoing litigation over the constitutionality of the TSA security practices, and he exposed how the TSA admits that there is no evidence to support giving up our civil liberties. A section that was censored reads, of what evidence the government possesses to rationalize that we should be so afraid of non-metallic explosives being brought aboard flights? The answer, there is none. As of mid-2011, terrorist threat groups present in the homeland are not known to be actively plotting against civil aviation targets or airports. Instead, their focus is on fundraising, recruiting, and propagandizing. And in fact, he said it's been about 35 years since an actual situation where someone was trying to bring explosives into the airport has actually even occurred. So the threat is not real. So why are they imposing these security measures? Don't you feel like every day we're just being pushed and prodded a little bit more into compliance? Something's definitely up. And then we also reported in October about the TSA's expanded screening process and how before you even get to the airport, they're already accessing private and government databases to get information about you, like your car registration, your employment, and so much more. But now, just to remind you that you are a prisoner who has got to be subjected to these detention pods and you must obey and control. But what about the obvious thing here? We saw it during the LAX shooting. In order to avoid gunfire, hundreds of people were stampeding for the exit. So what's going to happen if something like that happens, or if there's a fire or some other threat and people need to stampede to the exit? That's going to cause an obvious bottleneck, obvious problems. But also, why do you have to be subjected to a detention pod to leave the terminal? Haven't you already gone through enough TSA checkpoints? By then, you're exiting the plane. But the TSA isn't the only agency that's tracking your every move, of course. Last week, we told you about the expansive mesh network surveillance grid that's in Seattle. And the police there said, oh, we just forgot to turn the cameras off, but we weren't really actually using them. Well, now we just reported on a new file that's entitled the Police Video Diagram. And this proves that police officers have the ability to access and control live video feed from the city's surveillance cameras, all from the comfort of their police cruisers. So these cameras that track your cell phone and then provide up to your last 1,000 locations and are the ultimate profiling tool. Cops now, they don't even need probable cause to track you. They don't need a warrant. They don't need permission. Basically, they can just decide that they want to see what you're up to and then turn these surveillance cameras so that they will track you and the police can find out what they want to know. And a Seattle police spokesperson said after we exposed those documents last week, they would begin deactivating the program, awaiting public feedback. But reports as of yesterday show that the cameras are actually fully operating. And I'm sure they're not going to give up the authority to surveil the public in that way. I don't believe it. And multiple agencies have access to these surveillance cameras, but what I'm curious about is who has access to the cameras that are spying on you through your Xbox?
The new Xbox One, set to be released later this week, can see your penis. That's the shocking discovery made by Fast Company Design's Mark Wilson. After uploading a video analysis of the new console's features, Wilson wrote, quote, "While I'd intended to post the above tech demo of the improved Kinect from Microsoft Research, I noticed alongside the intricacies of a hoodie and jeans, and there's no graceful way to say this, a dong." That's right, the Kinect system's infrared camera is now so sensitive that similar to a TSA millimeter wave body scanner, it shows a clear outline of your genitalia. Wilson also reveals his embarrassment in noticing how the system picked up the outline of his own penis during Xbox One testing at Microsoft's campus in Redmond. Taken on its own, this might be easy to dismiss, but when you consider the fact that Microsoft, maker of the Xbox, was deeply embroiled in the NSA wiretapping scandal, allowing the snooping agency backdoor access to spy on users of its services, things begin to get unsettling. The user will not be able to power on the new Xbox One without first enabling Kinect and standing in front of its camera. The system also requires that it be connected to the internet at least once every 24 hours. The device will also track your eye movements to record which ads you watch, as well as using its array of microphones to enable voice interactivity and distinguish your voice from other people in the room. So I guess we just have to trust that Microsoft won't record and pass on the audio of our conversations to the NSA, just like it did with the data of other individuals who used its Microsoft services. Reports have emerged today that NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association, have put in a massive pre-order for the new Xbox One, exhausting current supply. Okay, that's a joke, but you see where I'm heading. Wilson himself notes that whereas Microsoft, aware that children could be targeted by pedophiles, have banned topics or content of a sexual nature on its gamer tags and profiles, they don't seem to be as concerned about the fact that their console has the capability to perform a rudimentary strip search of all its users. Check us out on Twitter at twitter.com/prisonplanet. I'm Paul Joseph Watson reporting for Infowars.com.
And if having cameras everywhere and the police being able to track your every move through your cell phones wasn't enough to remind you that you are a captive living here in the United States, now the law enforcement ankle bracelets that you see, the GPS ankle bracelets, they also have built-in phones to transmit audio. An attorney filed a motion to have his client's ankle device removed when he noticed that it was remotely being turned on during their private meetings. During the court hearing, he placed a GPS ankle bracelet on the podium and made a call from the device to a technician of the Secure Alert company, that they're the ones that manage the audio. So the technician testified through the GPS bracelet as it was on the podium that yes, the device can in fact be turned on without a warning and record and transmit audio. But you might be thinking, oh, you're a criminal, you don't have the expectation of privacy, but whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? And it is America, we do still have attorney-client privileges. So this is actually kind of shocking and a little bit scary that they can tap into your private conversations with your attorney without warning you. Well, stick around because coming up next, I'm going to have the latest dire warning from doctors regarding something that you're probably letting your kids do every day. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Well, in defiance of our dear leader, the House of Representatives passed the Keep Your Health Plan Act last week. The legislation would allow millions of Americans whose health care plans were canceled under Obamacare to renew their plans for 1 year. And 39 Democrats broke rank and sided with the Republicans in order to vote for this GOP-written bill. But this bill isn't enough for former President Bill Clinton, who, despite having supported Obama's Affordable Care Act, he said last week that the federal government shouldn't use minor changes in existing plans as an excuse to cancel existing health care plans. He said, "I personally believe if it takes a change in the law, the president should honor the commitment the federal government made to those people and let them keep what they've got." Now, Obama issued a fix to this health care law last week, saying that he would allow people to keep their plans for 1 year, even if they don't meet minimum requirements of Obamacare. His fix was instantly criticized, of course, because he never even met with the insurers to make sure that this would actually be a good fix and in the best interest of Americans. He met with the insurers the following day to talk about his fix, but he was also criticized because people say he just doesn't have the authority to wave his hands and decide that that's how the bill is going to read now.
Did you vote yes because you think that the president didn't go far enough?
I voted yes. Perhaps that was part of the reason, but the main reason was I'm not sure he had the legal underpinning to do what he did.
Not only is a president barred from writing or rewriting laws, he has to enforce them exactly as Congress has written the laws. He can't just waive an inconvenient part of the law just to fix a problem that he's created. But of course, if he can find out a way to do that, to say that the law is unconstitutional, then he might be able to work that out. But he's always reminding everyone that the Supreme Court upheld the Affordable Care Act. So there you go. But of course, the political timing with this is crystal clear, because it's going to stop millions of people from being dropped from their insurance, who would then call their representatives and say, hey, I'm not going to reelect you next year. But of course, now that'll have to wait until after the 2014 elections. Very convenient for the Democrats there. So things aren't really looking that good for Obama. Even Kanye West has turned on him. He called into a hot 107.9 this morning, and he said that he's over Obama. And he said that even thinking of the president at this point is just lowering my priority of thinking. The rapper suggested that Mr. Obama had used him as a foil for political purposes. He wouldn't do that. He is an upstanding member of society. When Kanye West is hating on you, you know you have dropped to a new low. Well, parenting these days is a little bit of a different ball game. Most kids are more tech savvy than their parents, and there's all kinds of toddler tablets that are encouraging kids to be totally tapped into technology. Well, now doctors are warning that children under 2 should avoid all screen time entirely. Doctors and therapists fear that too much time on touchscreens could cause long-term damage. Occupational therapist Lindsay Marzoli said if they are always on the iPad and not actually doing those paper-pencil activities that they should still be doing, those muscles are going to remain weaker. 6-year-old Nolan Ulrich, who is part of occupational therapy, and he's working on hand-eye coordination and finger movements like grasping and pinching, as well as balance and posture, which are all problems that kids can develop if they spend too much time with touchscreens instead of running, jumping, building, and drawing. What happened to playing? Marzoli said that what we're seeing is a lot of children coming in with some motor delays, some decreased muscle strength in areas. So that is pretty incredible. I know just from doing my own work that we all kind of hunch over, and I'm just like, the future with what's going to happen with these kids, our society is devolving. We're going to be like degenerate lurches in 50 years. Get outside and play. Well, stick around, because coming up we're going to have an excerpt from the Alex Jones show. James Teague was not only an eyewitness to the JFK assassination, but he was hit with a stray bullet fragment that struck the president. And he talks about that experience with Alex coming up next, so stick around.